Afternoon and good evening, good morning to all the digital health folks around the world who are interested in understanding the latest and the most relevant evidence in the adoption of digital health. My name is Stan Kichnowski. I chair HITLAB, and I'm also the director of the digital health program at Columbia University. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to the March HITLAB Symposium, revisiting the basics of digital health, which has been undergoing an unbelievable amount of transformation over the last 3 years. And now with the newest models in AI and various types of generative text to machine learning, we're seeing the relevance and the importance of digital health evolve even further and faster than what we've seen over the last 3 years. Now with the new models around chat and around these types of generative language databases coming to play. So very, very glad to have you all here today. And as we're seeing people filter into the actual virtual auditorium, if you will, we have to pay special thanks to our sponsors with which this would not be happening today. First, the Merck Global Innovation Fund. Of course, the nation's largest and one of the world's largest digital health funds. Goodwin, Legal Services. Goodwin is one of the top digital health law firms in the world, and we're really grateful for their partnerships and collaboration. And of course, FFF Enterprises, one of the country's largest distributors of medical supplies and medical goods, and one of the most innovative groups around the country today when it comes to new products and new digital health technologies to help hospitals and manufacturers, and certainly a variety of pharmacies as well. And of course, our great partners at H-Tech Collaborative from AARP, they're just tremendous to work with. And thank you to them as well for their sponsorship. Today's agenda is packed. We are going to kick off the program with looking at wearables with the Breakthrough Alliance chair and the president of the Merck Global Health Innovation Fund, Bill Taranto, talking with the lead for Garmin Health, Andy Beckman, and talking about what wearables are doing to change the world. And we're going to dive into the recent chief strategy officer, now investor in digital health companies, Laurent van Lerberg, and he's going to be talking about what's going on within the digital health ecosystem, not just in the US, but around Europe and the world. And of course, one of our favorites, the founder and CEO of Rubitection, Sana Gaspard, is going to be coming on 11:30 to talk about what she's seeing from her company and her inventions and certainly her innovation around geriatric bed sores and things of that sort. What she's seeing around how digital health has moved beyond the pandemic and is now solving bigger and better geriatric problems. And then at 11:45, we'll have the hot New York City startup, the Recovery Plus CEO and founder, Peter Nemi, talking with Jenny Martin, chief nursing officer from Recovery Plus, as well as Tim Bilbrey, who is also with Recovery Plus, talking to us about the clinical analysis of what's going on with in-home rehab and how that's really paving the way, taking advantage of a lot of these new value-based care models and a lot of these new reimbursement models for remote telecare. And of course, top of mind on all these conversations will be how the AI and this kind of new chat, the new bots, whether it's BERT or whether it's ChatGPT or whatever it might be, are already making their way into healthcare and what that means for healthcare. To lead us off there will be a tremendous conversation from the Breakthrough Alliance chair, Bill Taranto, and a digital health veteran himself, along with Andy Beckman from Garmin Health. Bill, handing the virtual podium over to you.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it very much. And Andy, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm really excited today because I want to learn about Garmin Health, which I don't know a lot about. So I think the audience is going to be pretty excited about this little interview we have today. So welcome. The way we always like to start this, Andy, is, many of the audience may not know you, even like myself. And can you just tell the audience about your journey? How'd you start your career and how'd you end up, being sort of senior manager of Garmin Health at this time?
Hey, Bill, thanks a bunch for having me today and looking forward to our conversation. Excited to be here and learn more from the team. So exactly why I'm here, just to kind of explain a little bit more about Garmin Health. Most people may know Garmin as depending on what you're interested in, but Garmin has been, we like to think that we fuel people's passion. So if you have a hobby, we probably have a product that will make you better or help you enjoy your hobby a little bit better. So, but a little known part of Garmin is our Garmin Health business, and really it focuses on wearables and using wearables for digital health applications. So a little bit about me: I've been with Garmin for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 at the end of April here, mainly in a sales role, and I did some national account sales, and then I led our fitness segment for the Americas for a few years, and then moved into a strategy role, and then last June moved into our Garmin Health leadership role here, leading our sales for Americas as well. So North America, South America sales, and really it's a B2B sales role. So working with different applications, from remote patient monitoring to health and life insurance applications, corporate wellness, gyms, things like that.
Great, great. Well, wonderful journey. So let's talk healthcare now. So
Yeah.
I really like the remote monitoring space. We've invested in there, and I want to talk about wearables and just everything you're doing in wearables, and kind of why is that important to digital health?
Yeah, wearable devices, as you know, Bill, can be anywhere from smart watches to smart bands to digital clothing to different trackers and whatnot. Really, the devices allow you to do many different things, from just tracking your overall steps, which can be a sign of activity, to many people are offering now, biosensing, basically, if you will, looking at heart rate and B2B interval, and that can be derived some heart rate variability, which can also open up many different things. And then we can also track pulse ox, we can track respiration, and many people can then take that for many different things, from tracking sickness or disease, diabetes, pre-diabetes, chronic conditions, things like that. But really, the wearables allow a brand new gateway, I guess, for not only the end user to be able to make their own kind of changes, if you will, from just different personal lifestyles, from tracking their stress and sleep, and just having basically a scoreboard, if you will, to know how am I doing, and what kind of changes do I need to make. But then also researchers and remote patient monitoring companies can, with wearables, can now, you don't need to go in and see everybody daily to be able to report that scoreboard to them, and then they can help to prescribe and look at things differently from a long ways away, and having that ability to just much more convenient for everybody involved.
Yeah, so I kind of, if I could offer a follow-up question in the same sort of realm of how people were. So you have your own set of wearables that you've all developed through Garmin Health, and then can customers come and then work with you through those wearables to maybe it's a cardiology office to work with those, their own patients, or can people come to you as well and maybe design a wearable that might be, more, closer to what they might be doing that you haven't produced yet?
Yeah, in general, most of it is just products that we've already developed, and then we use our APIs and SDKs with different partners and their platforms to help them to accomplish their goals that they have. Now, we have co-developed some things in the past, but it's probably not very common for us to do that. So.
Okay. Then can patients, like someone like myself, just order something on Garmin and self-monitor, or are these all done through working, say, with my physician or my, the payer provider network?
Yeah, no, everything can be individually based, and then but we do work with different clinical research places, universities, hospitals, things like that also develop their own little pilot run studies, and then they can sometimes provide the wearable for that. But yeah, Bill, we'd love to get a Garmin on your wrist and allow you to track your stress and sleep and heart rate and pulse ox and everything else throughout the day.
So now you mentioned a lot of therapeutic areas that you're in. What are some of the positive impacts that you're seeing with wearables, and maybe if you can get into some of the little clinical efficacy that you're seeing, or just what's the big impact that you're seeing that it's having?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, just with the key term remote, right? So now, you could be, hanging out on the East Coast of the United States, and you could be pulling in data from anybody that has agreed to share their data with you to either from a research standpoint, or if we have some healthcare professionals here. If they have, it really opens up the ability to track and make decisions from anywhere in the world. So really, location is no longer a concern. You can have that communication. I think COVID obviously was rough on all of us, but it also opened up, I think, our minds to a little bit more of remote learning, remote training, remote communication from around the globe. So a few ways that people are using Garmin wearables. We actually partnered up with the Defense Innovation Unit during COVID. And basically, this is a division of the Air Force. And what they were able to do is they use Garmin wearables, and they actually developed an algorithm with Philips. But by using Garmin wearables, they were able to basically predict if someone was going to, have COVID-like symptoms roughly 2 days in advance. So what they were able to do is they'd be able to pull a squadron kind of apart, if you will. If they saw some people in their group was going to becoming sick, they could actually pull them off and kind of quarantine them before infecting the whole group. I know over in Germany too, there's also some different studies where they're using Garmin wearables to track Parkinson's medication. So, now the doctor doesn't have to see the Parkinson's patient every day, but now they can dial in that medication a little bit better from a remote standpoint using the accelerometers in the Garmin wearables.
Okay. I'll just add, I saw a couple questions pop in on the chat room, and it's more around sort of your cardiology sort of monitoring that you do. How accurate is your devices maybe versus an EKG? And then what else do you sort of track beyond heart rate?
Yeah, good question. So EKG, I mean, everything is coming from the wrist, or, we do have heart rate straps that we could do too that they're not FDA approved, but everything that we've been told is they're very accurate in comparison. We've also just had a software as a medical device FDA approval for our ECG on our Venue 2 Plus recently. So that's kind of a big news for us. Similar to what you've seen with other wearables out there for AFib detection. As far as different accuracy enough, there's lots of people doing studies out there too in regards to using just general off-the-shelf wearables versus some maybe medically approved devices, and have been having good success from that perspective. So in general, we feel like it's much more affordable for researchers to use Garmin wearables, as well as they really appreciate how easy it is to connect with our APIs and SDKs. And then the other thing that people probably don't realize is just how much longer our battery life is than other wearables out there too. So that allows us to, the patient can actually wear it for a long time, and then that, they don't, fall out of that bad habit of taking it off to recharge it and then forgetting it to put back on. So some of the other metrics that we're tracking too is B2B interval, which then can be derived for some heart rate variability. We track stress. We have a metric called body battery, which basically is a combination of sleep and stress and activity, and it basically gives everybody a gauge of how much energy do they have to take on their day. Kind of a realization that, oh wow, my body battery is low, and I probably need to recharge a little bit. But we track respiration and pulse ox, sleep quality, advanced sleep metrics as well. So.
Well, great, Andy. Well, thank you so much. Our 15 minutes always goes fast when we do these things, but I see Stan back on the screen. So I want to thank you, Andy, for joining me today. And just also one quick pitch that I always like to do before I turn it over to Stan as chairman of the Breakthrough Alliance. I always ask everybody, it's a great network of people, investors, students, entrepreneurs. Please join the Breakthrough Alliance, and be part of HITLAB. It's a wonderful organization. So Stan, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, and thank you both. Thank you, certainly Andy, for joining us, and thank you, Bill, for a terrific interview. And Bill, before we let you go, we know you're just back from Vive. Any Any comments, any highlights from Vive in Nashville that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, it was a great conference. I tell you, a lot more people were there than I didn't know what to expect. They had probably 4,000 or 5,000 people there. Great topics. I was very fortunate to do a keynote on it was geared towards CEOs of portfolio companies as well as investors of how to invest in these troubled waters that we're facing in 2023, and some tips of what you can do. Great set of companies that were displaying that, this conference is more focused on payer providers. So it was a lot of companies that were there to support those type of entities. But it's a great conference. I recommend people go to that. And then of course the sister conference is health, which is a little more digital and technology related, coming in the fall. But I give them a lot. It was a really, really good conference. I was pretty impressed.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, again, thank you both for joining us today. And Bill, thank you for the kind words about Breakthrough and for the highlights of Vive.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Stan.